Stand up.
Issues out of black and white. Let's concentrate on right and wrong.
And now, our voices today.
Why are we led by our pride?
Welcome to Our Voices Today, right here on Burton Bell Car Community Radio with your beloved unicorn of the land, DJ Black Unicorn, aka Uni. Happy Friday, Junior. It is Thursday, August 15th. We are halfway through August. Oh my gosh. My birthday is in like 2.5 weeks. It's August 31st. So, if you love me that much, I love food. I just let you know. But yes, it's about to be Virgo season. We just got to get those stinking Leos out the way. Just kidding. I love you, Leos. My mom's a Leo. Her birthday is actually this Saturday. And we was going to go to Put-in Bay, but my dad didn't want us to go without him. So we're going to figure something else out. Now I have to work on Saturday. So I told her I'll take her somewhere special, somewhere next weekend or something, maybe. I don't know. Maybe when I go on vacation in a couple weeks around my birthday. I got a little buddy in the studio with me, and I got some old pals in the studio with me as well. Before we get there, it is 10:01 right now, and it is also 73 degrees and cloudy. It's supposed to be rain all weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but we know how it goes here in the land. So look, just keep your umbrella with you, stay ready. But if you are still going out to any of these events, look, this is Cleveland. Don't act like you haven't partied in the rain before. Let's just do it. And like I said, I got some great guests live in the studio with me. I'm going to slow down before I introduce them or properly let them introduce themselves. Go ahead and properly introduce yourself, Mr. Matt Alden of the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland.
Thanks for having me back. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you back. But Mr. Alden has worked at the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland since October 2023 as a senior attorney in the Economic Justice Law Group. Matt works with clients experiencing employment and debt issues. He grew up in Westerville, Ohio, and served in the Gulf War. And thank you again for your service.
Sure.
With the Ohio Air National Guard. He had aspired to be a pro boxer and won professional fight, but he realized he needed to choose another career path. He graduated from Cleveland State University College of Law and has practiced law for over 20 years here in Cleveland, although he has tried cases in San Jose, California, all the way to Washington, D.C. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here, so it's nice to see you again.
Yes. And just to let you know, Legal Aid Society is a no cost. Yeah, I said that. Legal services at no cost. Now, we're talking civil. We're not talking anything federal. But if you need some civil help, you can always reach out to Legal Aid Society of Greater Cleveland. But right now, here today, we are talking about employment law rights. And what does that mean exactly? What is employment law, and what areas does that include?
Sure. It covers a very broad spectrum. It can be anything from unpaid wages to being treated unfairly on the job to being injured on the job. It can cover your union rights. It covers a pretty broad area.
Thank you. So what are some of those rights that employees are entitled to?
Yeah, the main ones that employees are entitled to is the right not to be discriminated against or treated unfairly on the job on the basis of what your religious beliefs are, or if you are a person with a disability, if you're over 40, like I am, or on the basis of your race or your sex or your national origin, the country where you come from, or if you're a veteran, or if you've ever had to file for bankruptcy. Those are the main job protections. The employer has to treat you as if, they can't use any of those reasons, your race, sex, age, to treat you worse because of those characteristics. You have the right to be treated fairly.
Thank you. I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, Matt, and I may have. I don't think so. I think it was someone else from your organization.
Okay.
But so the Satanist been going into schools, right? Doing all these like school programs and things of that nature. And I'm not going to lie. I don't want to work with no Satanist. What could I do to protect myself as an employer from discrimination? Like, how?
Right.
Because let's be real. We all have our internal discriminations, right? We all have our prejudgments, our preconceived notions of people. And certain things are just simply unacceptable. But when it comes to the spirit, to me, that's a totally different realm that I need to make sure not only I am protected, but my other employees are protected.
Right.
So how does that work?
So
has that been sticky and tricky? Because that's been a thing.
Yeah.
It's like ramping up here in the U.S. and no one is talking about it, and it's scaring me.
Yeah. So the way you protect yourself is most employers will have a handbook. It'll have certain policies, and it'll say if you feel you're being treated unfairly for any reason, here are some of the things that you can do. So if there is a policy, then you want to try and comply with that policy to the extent that you can. But the most important thing you want to do is you want to document everything. So if people are making statements to you that you feel are discriminatory, you want to write it down. If they're sending you an email or a text that you feel is not right or is harassing or unfair, then you want to make a copy and save it. You want to go online to your payroll provider and get copies of your paychecks. If you've sent emails back and forth to either your supervisor or somebody at HR, you want to keep copies of those. You either want to print them out or you want to send them to your own personal email. And the reason for that is sometimes you complain about something and then months or years go by and then all of a sudden you're like, I really need to try and remember what happened a year ago. And I don't know about you guys, but I can't remember what happened last week. So if you've got everything in a folder somewhere, you've got a hard copy, and then you're trying to present a claim later on, you can go back and that'll refresh your memory. So documentation and saving everything, that's really the key.
So how can someone protect themselves if they do speak up about discrimination, but they end up facing some type of backlash or some type of action taken against them because they spoke up?
Right. Retaliation is illegal. It's illegal to retaliate or treat somebody differently or deny them either like raises or give them unfair or unfavorable work assignments. So if you feel like you're being treated that way, the thing is document what's going on, and then you can file a charge of discrimination on the basis of the retaliation with either the Ohio Civil Rights Commission or the Federal Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. And there are lots of lawyers, lots of good lawyers, not only us, call us, but there are also very good lawyers that will handle employment discrimination cases, and they can help you understand what your rights are.
So this is like the perfect topic.
Okay.
For some things that's been going on.
Gotcha.
And if you've been listening and you just heard Jay and Dr. Bridges on Exchange of Views, then you know what question I'm going to end up asking you a little later.
Okay. I didn't hear that, so fire away whenever you're ready.
Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there. So what are some rights that disabled individuals have in their employment space and place that they need to understand that they have the rights to these things,
right?
And if they don't receive these things, then they are being discriminated against.
Exactly. The main right that they have is the right to be treated fairly and not treated worse because they may have a disability. If they're able to do what are called the essential functions of the job, then they can't be turned down simply because they may have a disability or they may need some type of reasonable accommodation, like being able to come in a little bit earlier or a little bit later, or maybe having somebody assist them with some of the things on the job, or maybe having somebody that helps them and explains to them a little bit more time and a little bit more detail on how their job has to be done. That's reasonable, and as long as it's not super expensive for the employer has to work with them, understand what accommodation or what help they need, and then try and give it to them. So they have the right to be treated fairly and not treated differently just because they may need a little bit of help in order to do their job.
Is there some type of disability scale for employers when they do employ someone who is disabled who may need a little bit of help, is there like a cap off that they cannot exceed to accommodate that individual?
It's very specific to the industry and the job. The law just says that it's got to be, they have the right to request and get a reasonable accommodation. So all the cases and all the fights in the courts are over what's reasonable. And was the person disabled and were they qualified to do the job? That's where, so there's not really any type of like number of employees or production rates or anything like that. It's more a focus on what's the disability that the person has. Can they do the essential functions of the job? What are the essential functions of the job? And can they do it if they get a reasonable accommodation?
Okay. I always wondered that. Because it
Great
is a
question.
big,
Sure, absolutely.
It's a big thing. They do need accommodations, but they also need jobs.
Right.
They need to be able to pay to take care of themselves. They need to be able to pay their aides. They need to be able to pay for like their wheelchair batteries, whatever their situation is. They still need money too.
Yeah, and they want to work. Yeah,
Exactly.
they just want to work like the rest of us.
Exactly. They want to be able to contribute to society as
Exactly.
well. Like seriously. Give them a chance. Don't discriminate, please. What are some things that employees can do if they are a victim of wage theft or unpaid wages?
Right. So there's two main things that they can do. You can file a claim with the Ohio Department of Commerce for unpaid wages, or you can get an attorney and file a lawsuit on your own. And you may think, well, geez, I'm only paid $3,000. It's $3,000. There's no way I can hire a lawyer. Well, the thing to remember is the law says that if you win that case, the employer has to pay your attorney's fees. So that's a real incentive for lawyers to take those cases without charging you anything up front. Most lawyers will do it on a contingent fee basis, meaning they don't get paid unless you get paid. So if you think, wow, it's a very small dollar amount, I'm never going to be able to get a lawyer to talk to me about this, you should call them anyway, because a lot of times if you're getting ripped off, there's other people that are getting ripped off. And if the attorney can bring your case on behalf of 5 people or 20 people, they're going to get a big payday and they're going to have an incentive to talk to you. So there's two things you can do. You can go to the Ohio Department of Commerce's website and fill out a form that way. That limits the amount of money that you can get back. But if you don't want to go that way, then I would reach out to either us here at Legal Aid, see if you qualify, because we're very experienced at handling those cases. We do them all the time. Or finding another private lawyer here in Cleveland that'll take those cases, because there's a lot of good lawyers out there that'll do it.
Yes, and if you need Legal Aid Society help, you can always visit lasclev.org. Again, that's lasclev.org. You can do your intake right on the site, or you can go to one of these free clinics that we are going to tell you all about before we leave. But let me tell you a little story. So I used to be employed at this factory, right?
Okay.
It was the most unsafe factory I've ever seen. And so I left, right? And I had told my cousin about it that weekend. He was like, well, why didn't you report them? And I was like, I don't know. I just left. What should I have known within that situation, going into that unsafe employment and unsafe workplace? What could I have done differently in that situation to make sure that they not only get up to standards, but that it is safe for not only me, but all employees that's working there?
Right. I think the Federal Department of Labor has a line that you can call, and I think the state of Ohio does too, for unsafe working conditions, because the employers have to make sure that their workplace is safe. If you're injured on the job, then that's a workers' comp claim, and it's they can't retaliate against you because you're complaining about an unsafe condition or you've filed a workers' comp claim. It's hard, because there's a lot of pressure on you. You're like, I need this job, I got bills to pay. I don't want to speak up because I might get fired. But if you do reach out to them, to management, and say, here are my concerns, and if you've documented it for yourself, they can't fire you for making those types of complaints. So you are protected.
Thank you. And you mentioned some comp. For those individuals out there that may not understand what that buzzword that you just said is, can you break that down and tell how legal aid helps with those type of situations, those injuries on the job?
So workers' compensation is designed, it's an insurance fund, basically. All employers pay into it. And it helps people if they're injured on the job, so there isn't years of litigation between them getting hurt and getting paid. That's not one area that we handle, because there are plenty of good lawyers in Cleveland that'll handle that. And the attorney gets paid through your claim. You don't have to pay them any additional money. So if you're hurt on the job, the first thing you want to do is you've got to let your employer know. You've got to let them know, I was working, this is in the course and scope of my employment, I was following all the safety rules, and it was either a condition of the equipment I was using or it wasn't my fault. I got hurt on the job. And the nice part about it is you don't have to prove that you weren't at fault or whoever else was at fault. The simple test is you were working, you got hurt, and then you get to work on getting paid. So
I wanted to ask how you can deal with it if the employer is being difficult, because we always hear about employers fighting to pay those type of worker comp situations.
Yeah.
But you said legal aid don't do those, so we're going to move on. What should you do if you need to file for unemployment, though?
Right. So you go on the website for the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. It's all online now. You fill out all the information of how many weeks you worked there, what your pay rate was, what your job was, and the reason that your employment ended. Then they get the claim started. Then you have to continue to report while your claim is active. That's the main thing, because you've got to show, yes, I'm ready, willing, and able to work, and here's all the steps that I'm trying to take to find my next job. Then the employer gets a chance to weigh in, and if they think they had a valid reason for firing you, the case might continue on for further proceedings, and that's definitely one place where legal aid can help you out. I would encourage anybody, if they've got an unemployment issue, to call our intake helpline and see if we can help out.
Thank you. And what should you do if you lose your job, but they don't want to give you your last paycheck?
Yeah, that's where you can sue them for getting that last paycheck. So if you get fired or your job ends for some reason and they owe you for accrued time off that you weren't able to take, they've got to cash that out to you. And if they don't, you can bring a lawsuit against them. So you'd want to get all your documentation together. And the main thing I can tell people, and I got to admit I'm bad about this too, is making sure you're regularly downloading your pay stubs. Because if something happens with your employment, or if the employer says, hey, we're not using this one payroll service anymore, we're switching everything over, you may need those records for some reason to say, look, here's the hours that I worked, and here's what I got paid, and that's not everything I'm entitled to get paid. It'll be important to have those records. So it's keeping all your records, that's and documenting what's going on.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere. You are listening to Our Voices Today right here on Burton Bell Car Community Radio. This is Uni having a great conversation with Mr. Alden of Legal Aid Society. And again, if you are in need of some Legal Aid Society services, you can visit lasclev.org. Again, that's lasclev.org. Or you can call 888-817-3777. But who wants to use the phone anymore? Just go to the website, lasclev.com. We'll be right back on Our Voices Today, letting you know how you can avoid any employment discrimination, harassment, or discrimination. If you just need your money, basically, if you just need your money for being discriminated against, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Listen, you already know what it is, your boy DJ Chris Styles. Listen, make sure you are ready.
Yep, you're going to have to be ready. Sunday, August 25th from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. for the Pop-Up in the Park event. Pop-Up in the Park is a mega home-style festival featuring some of your favorite artists and performers in a beautiful park setting.
The event will include a wide variety of vendors, food, beverages, and multiple DJs. You already know. Listen, DJ Ellery and DJ Low Key.
And of course, WOVU's very own DJ Chris Styles.
Playing throughout the day, live performances, fun activities, games for children, adults, dancing, and other surprises throughout the day and evening.
And you won't believe the featured artist of this year.
Guess who we got? You can't believe it.
Mr. Pony himself,
Own it.
Genuine.
Riding my pony. Listen, I know I don't got the vocals, but listen, Genuine will be there. Additional performances by my homegirl, Les and Philly Wheaton.
Providing that good workout when we pop up in the park.
The unit band.
And we'll be laughing and jamming with Jammin' J. Lamont.
See, fellas, that's another thing. See, you can cuss your lady out like Ron Isley. She get on your nerves and say, "You're getting on my nerves, girl." Shut up, yeah. Give him a little between the sheets.
3 p.m. gates open.
4 p.m. to 7 p.m. the DJs is rocking the crowd and live bands doing their thing. 7 to 9 p.m. performances.
9 p.m. we're closing out with fireworks. By attending pop-up in the park, you are giving back. Make Them Know Your Name Foundation mission is to address the heart disease epidemic by providing CPR training, AED equipment, and resources, and community education to promote heart-healthy lifestyles.
So grab your kids, get in your car, head down to Mall C.
Got questions? Visit mtkyn.org. That's mtkyn.org. Pop Up in the Park is powered by Make Them Know Your Name Foundation and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United, Burton Bell Car Community Radio.
It's time to make the short story longer. Yeah. Stand up, my people. Stand for something in your life. Stand up, my people.
Welcome back to Our Voices Today right here on Burton Bell Car Community Radio with your beloved unicorn of the land, DJ Black Unicorn. And I got Mr. Matt Alden of the Legal Aid Society of Greater Cleveland. We've been talking about employment law and rights, all the things that you need to know. And of course, we're going to let you know about these upcoming clinics where you can receive free legal advice in the civil realm, not federal, just to let you know. So what should you do if you have to protect your employees themselves? If you believe that their rights are being violated, how should you go about protecting them and making sure that they are protected?
So if you're like a supervisor or something?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's another instance of getting all the documentation together, figuring out what's the basis? Why do you feel that they're being treated poorly? And then taking it to management and saying, here's what I think's going on, and I think this needs to be corrected. So if anybody that makes a report that somebody else is being treated unfairly, they're protected from being retaliated against. So if something happens and they're fired or they feel like they were discriminated against because they made a complaint, they could go to either the Ohio Civil Rights Commission or the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and they'll investigate it, and you can file a lawsuit if you can't get it worked out at either of those two agencies.
So as a supervisor, right, and I am looking to always, of course, make sure my employees are protected and they feel safe.
Right.
And I go to my higher-ups and I explain to them the situation and they don't listen. Or even worse, they tell me to fire the individual. At that point, what should I do as a supervisor that's kind of like in the middle? Yeah,
I mean, that's a very tough spot to be in because you're thinking, wow, they just gave me this directive to tell this person and I got to fire them. I mean, at that point, you may get fired yourself, and then it's keeping all the documentation that you have and then going to talk to a lawyer and seeing what your potential options are. And it can also depend, too, if there's a union involved. So sometimes people work in union environments. If they're a member of the bargaining unit, they can also go to their union representative and say, look, this is what's going on. And the union may be able to file either a grievance about it or what's called an unfair labor practice charge.
Wow.
So...
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I always wondered that because luckily, grace of God, thank you, Lord, knocking on wood. I never am in that situation, but you see shows and movies and you hear things from other individuals because, the world is crazy. But what if you think you don't have enough evidence for whatever situation you may have?
Yeah, that's where getting a consultation with a lawyer can help you, because lawyers that practice regularly in employment law know what evidence you need and how best to present the case. And you may think, well, I really don't have anything here that proves a claim. You might walk into there and they say, no, you've got a claim and I can help you. So really reaching out for legal advice, it's, because anything else, it's like trying to operate on yourself without anesthesia, right? Because you're like, oh, I think I feel sick, I'll just try and heal myself. No, you should be going to the doctor, because you may think it's nothing. You may think it's something. They can help you figure out whether there's a real issue, and a lawyer's basically the same thing. So
Thank you. Let's talk about these upcoming clinics.
Okay.
Because look, if you may be facing a situation and you don't know if you have enough evidence, you just have some questions, you can always show up at any of these free clinics going on all over Northeast Ohio, okay? All over. But we are here to tell you about something that's going on right here in our neighborhood. This Saturday, August 17th, intake hour will be from 10 to 11 a.m. at Cleveland Public Library, Mount Pleasant campus. That's 14,000 Kinsman Road. And then September 7th, Cleveland Public Library, Lorraine campus, 8216 Lorraine Ave, same time, 10 to 11, and again, same time, 10 to 11 on September 14th at Stephanie Tubbs Jones Health Center. That's 13944 Euclid Avenue. What's the mission of Legal Aid?
we are here to provide equal access to justice
Yes.
for people that don't really have any place else to turn.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Alden, for coming in, letting
Yeah.
us know all about what people can do if they are facing some employment discrimination, or they just have some question about employment laws and rights. And I'm saying that again because you have
Exercise your rights.
Yes, you have to exercise your rights, because if you do not, they're going to trample all over you. They're going to do whatever they want to do to you. You have to know and understand your rights. That is the point of these conversations, to help you understand what it is you may be facing in your own situations. But if you have questions, again, you are welcome to show up at any of these clinics. If you have questions and you cannot show up to any of these clinics, you can always go to the website lasclev.org. You can do the intake right there and someone will contact you. Okay? So do not fret, do not worry. Legal Aid Society of Greater Cleveland can answer your questions in any way, shape, or form that may need to be answered for you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
I hope to come back again. So.
Yes, absolutely. I can't wait for you to come back again. I love our conversations.
Great.
Don't go anywhere. Right after this break, we're going to shift gears a little bit, a little pivot onto some St. Luke's conversations about these awesome grants. If you need some money, stick around.
Stand up, my people.
Psych. Welcome back. Before you leave, Mr. Alden, I have a quick question.
Okay.
Can I ask that question? Sit down.
Oh, yeah.
Sit down.
Absolutely.
This is a live question.
Okay.
So, are you familiar with what's going on with Metro Health and Dr. Steed?
Yes, a little bit. Yeah.
I want to know your legal opinion.
Well, I don't know about enough of the facts for why they decided to terminate her contract to be able to talk about it. I know she's represented and she's got lawyers and she's going to get good advice on what she needs to do. But other than that, I mean, it's so fact dependent, and there's maybe a lot out there right now that we just don't know about what happened. But, you know, she's reached out to lawyers. They're going to make sure her contractual rights are protected, and if there was anything, otherwise that was improper that was done, I'm sure they're going to stand up for her and help her get it figured out.
At this point, legally, do you believe that there is a way that she will regain her employment?
It's possible. Usually, though, if you're going to get something like that worked out, there's an arrangement where there's a parting of the ways, because by that time the relationship sometimes is just
spoiled.
So poisoned. Yeah, she doesn't want to go back to work there because they didn't treat her right, and they don't want her back because they feel she wasn't doing the job. Usually there's some type of way that it gets resolved where everybody parts ways. That's normally what happens.
So from my research and evaluation, it seemed like in every other area of her job she excelled, but her direct leadership, which tells me they were just not getting along. And I could absolutely be wrong. Like you said, there's a lot of factors, a lot of facts that we do not know and that have not came out to the public yet. But when you see that, we kind of already know what that means, right?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, obviously. But
does she have a discrimination case?
Well, without knowing what her lawyers know, I don't know. There's going to be things that she's told them that they don't necessarily want everybody knowing right now that could really impact her case one way or the other.
Absolutely.
And realistically, they may make a decision that they just want to communicate that information to Metro just to try and get it resolved so she's not dealing with this for like the next 3 or 4 years, because that doesn't do her any good. Then she's got this cloud hanging over her and she's trying to get on with her life. So we may never actually know, because they might sign an agreement to get it resolved, and then they might want to keep that confidential and not have anybody tell us about it. So I don't know.
We will see how it plays out. I definitely have been keeping Dr. Seed in my prayers for just overall peace, because this is a sticky situation. Thank you, Mr. Alden, for
thanks
coming
for
back
having
and
me.
answering that question for us.
All right.
Make sure you stick and stay. Don't go away. We'll be right back.